done? K40, did you help with this?
The rebels, they went over there.
What have you done? Seriously, what have you done? Seriously? You brought in the cavalry, huh? Wow. Come on in. Hi, this is Mega Geek and I'm Dan. And, wait. Hi, this is Mega Geek and I'm Dan. In this week's video I was going to construct a camera slider. I've got most of the parts. It's based on an Adafruit project, but I don't have everything yet. And it turns out that the chop saw pulled in the cavalry. So let's take a look at what we've got. Back here we have the 255mm TCT table saw. And in here, well, let's find out. Ooh. Wow. What have we here? Ooh. So we also have the 185mm TCT circular saw and the track system to go with it. Pretty cool. What's in here? Let's see. Holy moly. They did not shy away from a challenge. That is a monster piece of steel. Well, we're gonna have to cut that off. And look at this piece of plate. Oh, that is so nice. Bits of wood with nails in, angle iron. We'll play with the materials later. For now, let's open some boxes. So I'm going to open the circular saw first because I think there will be, I guess, less construction, and then we'll get into the table saw and see what that's like. Comes with a bag. Kind of cool. I dig it. What else have we got? Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. Another beautiful blade. Okay, so let's take a quick tour. Let me just move the bag out of the way for a second. Here we have it. 185mm circular saw. So we have our guard, got a number of levers and switches. At the back here we have the toggle for leaning it over, and I think at the front a release lock so that we can tilt our angles and lock it in front and back. It's nice, gives it a good solid fixture at your angle. We also have a toggle back here for the depth adjustment. So that's at 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. So that's kind of interesting. I guess that's calibrated for the size of the blade. I like this. They do this on the chop saw as well. Allen key has a nice proper home to live, tucked away on the saw. In this case, inside the handle. That is convenient. We have an arbor lock switch for the arbor, so let's get a blade on it. Just loosen this. Another beautiful metal cutting blade. These things really do go through everything. So we'll just pop that on there. Put that on there. And there we go. Let that go. And pop the arbor lock in and get a good tighten down on the blade. Pop that back in its hidey hole. I'm just gonna bring this up so that it can sit flat. Very nice. What we have here is a dust port, and it comes with a couple of pieces for the dust collection. It'll be interesting to see how effective that is, because in my experience circular saws generate a lot of dust. Okay, so that covers over there. I've got a couple of screws, so let's just attach that now. Alright, so with that attached, this obviously connect to your dust collection. Very nice. And there we have it. Let's get the track out and see what the track's like. It's exciting. Ooh. Okay. Comes in 2 pieces. This funky laser etched or etched design. So we have 2 sections of track. I believe they can be joined together if necessary. Okay. So, track plates. So there's a little bit of play, and I guess that's what these are for, to take up that slack. Yeah, that's taken out all of the play. When I designed and printed this end for my vacuum, I didn't have Evolution in mind, but it's a pretty good colour match and a pretty perfect fit on the end of the dust collector. Nice. Now all I need is something to slice up. So each piece of track actually has a seal along the side. It's like a piece of plastic of some kind. It's designed actually to be sacrificial, so with the first cut you make, you actually cut a chunk off of this, but that gives you a perfect match up to your blade, so that you get a nice seal against it, which I guess makes for cleaner cuts in the future. So I guess all that's left to do is to fire her up and make some of those first cuts. Now if only I had something I needed to open. I've been after a decent table saw for quite a while. Many years ago I turned an old circular saw into a table saw, and that is in fact what the workbench beneath this kind of started out as. circular saw is still there. My wife calls it the table saw of death. So let's see how quick and easy that track system is. Grippy tape should hold it somewhat sturdy. Let's do this. That was nice and easy. Not exactly a challenge for the blade though. Nice accurate depth. I think this one's going to be a little bit unwieldy to kind of lift things out, so I'm going to go with the Jimmy DeResta school of just cut the box away from the tool. Now we can see what we're working with. So in this side we have a push stick and I would guess part of the fence mechanism. Now we should be able excellent. And on this side legs. Now it's the hunt for the instruction manual. So flat. Aha! Manual. Vacuum hose. Polystyrene in a bag. I assume that was to hold something in place. And it looks like I have a packet up inside the machine. So the first little challenge is to figure out how I'm supposed to get at that. I'm going to walk this off the cardboard and then we'll see where we're at. Let's just check what the manual says, shall we? Well, the first thing we're supposed to do is turn it upside down so we can fit the legs on it. That seems like a pretty good place to start. So this is how we rotate the whole base over and slacken off that. Achievement unlocked. That was the first piece of initiative required. Now we've got the box. Let's see what's in it. Blade guard, fence guide, clamps, leg supports. Let's get building. Right, so the gist of the matter is the screws for the corners of the legs are already on. We need to take those off, put the legs in place, and put all the cross beams in place using a bunch of extra hardware. The main thing is don't tighten everything too hard, finger tight only, because we're going to flip it over, let the whole thing settle square where you leave it, then tighten it up in place. Let's do that. Now there are some spanners mounted on the tool, which is quite helpful, but I'm going to say that it's probably a pretty horrible job to use these to do this, so I'm going to use some good spanners. No, no, no.
It's really expensive just to go to a hangout. I have to pay for it on my own.
So that's what I'm saying. The first time it was.
They're still there. They honed it in to where they're still smart and very creative. Unfortunately,
Guys in Carolina. This is right at the top.
once it's
Now it does say that when you flip it upside down, you should have competent support to help you, because I guess it's heavy and unwieldy, and it would be sensible to do that with somebody else. I mean, it would be sensible. It's just not what I'm going to do, because I don't have anyone else to help me. So I'm just going to do it myself. Alrighty then. Room to maneuver. Everything is fairly firm. Got a plug that's going to come down there. So I think it should just be a case of... Now, the only thing I don't want to do is get it to an angle and then have it slip on me. Did I just do that really awkward and unwieldy thing twice? Just to give you two camera angles? Yeah, I did. I've moved over here in the workshop. This is broadly, I think, where it'll probably live. I might shuffle it around slightly, but I'll let it settle here and then tighten up all these bolts in a minute. Next thing to install are these little brackets. These are designed, it seems, to go behind the back legs, so that if you're pushing stuff through, you're not going to risk tipping the table over. You've got a little bit more stability, which seems like a good idea. So let's do that. It's just a move. Next step is to apply the wings. And I've just consulted the manual, and I'm a little bit disappointed with Evolution. Having literally just told me to tighten up all of these nuts, I now need to take these off on each side to fit the support struts that will help support the external wings. Could have mentioned that one earlier. Right. So I'm just going to tack these in place as I did with the legs, because getting this all leveled up is going to be important. Just need to attach this last wing on its outer side, and I ran into a small issue. The instructions say it is also good practice in the application to use a large washer underneath the head of the hex head machine screw, as well as underneath the fastening nut. Unfortunately, it only actually comes with enough washers to put one washer with every bolt. There's one washer per bolt. So having done 2 washers as recommended on the other side, I now have no washers left. Luckily, I have a box of washers, so we'll just deal with that from stock. What you see here is my solution to how to get these side tables on and flat. I did try just holding them by hand, but when you tighten up the bolts, I think because of the split washer things, they wanted to move. So instead, I just clamped my straight edges to the main table, had all these loosened off, clamped everything up so that it's nice and flat, then went round and tightened everything up. So hopefully, when I take all these clamps off, everything will stay nice and straight and flat. So, next time you think, do I need a few more clamps? The answer is yes. There you go. All flat, all lovely. Next thing is the fence. Okay, fence time. Fence comes in 2 parts. 7 coach bolts, and oh, what's this? Using washers. Huh. I mean, I love you, Evolution, and I'm not really complaining. You sent me these tools to play with, and that's really cool of you. But if you have, let's see, 28 hex head screws, that 4 of which need 2 washers, and 7 coach bolts that also need washers, the correct number of washers is 39 washers. Just saying, just saying.
It is beautiful. It is being set up right
There are a couple of Allen head screws in here which we can use to just tweak the fence a little bit. It's flush against the rear riving knife, but it's a little gap at the front of the blade, so let's just tweak that out. That's got us nice and straight there. Does mean we're slightly off on the dial indicator, but I'm probably never going to use these marks particularly. It'll be marked up workpieces. Now to apply the top guard. This is one of the things that really differentiates this from my table saw of death. An actual proper protection for having a riving knife. Excellent. So, I think we're about ready to cut some stuff on the table saw. Well, it certainly went through that without too much trouble. I mean, you could hear the difference when it hit the metal, but really didn't make a great deal of problem for the blade, unsurprisingly. This was the easy test. I guess the hard test is the big steel piece of pipe. Should we give that a go as well? Now this is a ludicrous test. I'm going to adjust this up and, well, I guess let's bring that up to just over. Now in theory, the circular saw could do this as well, but I'm a little bit terrified about how much metal is here, so I'm going to do it on the big saw. Let's find out. I feel like I should probably wear face protection. Let's do this. Now, I don't know how often I'm going to try cutting, like, what is this, 4 or 5 mil thick wall section, box section on the table saw, but they put down the challenge of providing it, and it certainly can do it. It's kind of quite frightening, but it went through no problem. Well done. So now for something a little bit closer to what I'm probably really going to use this for. I have all of this solid oak flooring offcuts from redecorating the hallway, and I want to kind of machine them up into something a bit more consistent. So I'm going to whip this through a few different ways and try and get myself a fairly decent square board. See how that goes. That's pretty good. I mean, a slight waver along, but I think that was probably my technique more than the machine. I would definitely say it's come off with a better finish than I got off the bandsaw, that's for sure. And yeah, made light work of it. Very promising. So before I end this video, I wanted to address the question of, like, why a track saw and a table saw. And in my mind, at least, I have a very specific kind of thought about when I would use each. Now, and that basically is handling oversized sheet goods. Now this isn't actually that big of a piece, it's quite thin, it's just what I happen to have, but sometimes it's helpful to order big 4 foot by 8 foot 20 mil thick sheets of material, and that's pretty difficult to handle if you're a person on your own in a workshop, and not least getting it onto a table saw is not the best thing in the world. So this is kind of what I had envisaged, is being able to lift the sheet goods up on blocks against, I've got a couple of rails behind here, then clamp the track in place at the point I want to break it up, and then in theory we can just plunge it down onto the track and then use the track to get our straight line. Easy as that. There's going to be a much safer way to handle big sheet goods and break them down into initial sizes, and then it's just a case of remove the track, and now I've got something I can handle to take over to the table saw. Now normally anything up to maybe twice this width I would probably have just done on the chop saw in the past, and just flip it over, but that doesn't give you the best, most accurate cut. So I'm looking forward to being able to use this kind of setup to really get handling of this kind of sheet goods down. So that's the Evolution trifecta: track, table and chop, probably used in that order. I suspect I'll use them for various things upcoming as I try and make new interesting stuff for the house and the workshop. For now though, thanks again to Evolution for sending them to me, it was very appreciated, and if you've made it this far through this very long video, once again, thanks for watching, see you next time.